When I was in the 8th grade, I was really into comic books. Like, really into comic books. And one day, a little YouTube video dropped called The Death and Return of Superman. I loved it. I could recite it from memory, and with it coming into my life at such a formative age, it influenced how I told stories from then on, and even how I talked. Flash forward to my senior year, I was lonely and bored, and I found the old video I was obsessed with. So I started watching his other videos, and I fell in love. I watched everything. His YouTube videos, interviews, Instagram stories. I was obsessed. So obsessed that I made a video about him that he eventually saw, and the rest is history. Honestly, he's probably the reason I have the number of subscribers I do, and I'm really grateful. However, as of last week, I'm no longer a fan of Max Landis. Here's why. Anytime Max Landis releases something, anything, everyone I follow on Twitter who's from LA, especially the women from LA, tweet about how much they hate him. It's usually nothing too concerning, just that they think he's an asshole or they don't particularly like him. You know, usual hater stuff. The release of Bright was different. This time, the allegations were a lot more explicit and coming from people who worked with Max Landis. The center of these allegations is Anna Akana, a popular YouTuber who you might remember from Wrestling Isn't Wrestling. When Bright was released, she tweeted, "Written by a psychopath who sexually abuses and assaults women, right? Cool." Which she elaborated on when asked for comment by Philip DeFranco. Update on the Anna Akana / Max Landis story. Anna Akana responded and approved of the release of this comment about Max Landis. She wrote, "I knew him personally for a few years because an ex was his best friend. His mistreatment of myself, other women, and his ex-girlfriends resulted in the dissolution of my relationship, as well as my ex's friendship with him. I know many, many women with accounts, several being good friends of mine, of his sexual abuse, misconduct, manipulation, coercion, and assault. Hell, he violently shoved me at a party once when I tried to stop him from harassing an ex who wanted him to leave her alone. Women are afraid to go on the record because he's successful and wealthy, and they're still pursuing careers in entertainment. But in the current climate, it feels appropriate to keep calling this shit out." The best friend in question here is Brad Gage, who, mind you, knew Max Landis since they were in college. This opened the floodgates on Twitter, and people started tweeting their Max Landis stories. Basically, the stories fall into two camps: assault allegations made by a friend, and personal stories of Max Landis being a dick. The most damning of the allegations made by a friend variety is an anonymous quote from an ex-girlfriend of Max's. It can be found in this Pajiba. I'm completely unfamiliar with this publication article. I found it to. It's a really great article. I'm getting a lot of my stuff from it. Go check it out if you enjoy this video. The quote goes as follows. "A more recent ex-girlfriend confirmed that he still treats women this way. She said she spent several years regathering her confidence and self-worth. After Max's never-ending commentary on her body being not up to his standards, he went even so far as to buy her workout classes, took a toll. She described their relationship as full of terrifying tantrums, gaslighting, controlling behavior, and that she absorbed an endless stream of criticisms that made her feel self-conscious and insecure about every aspect of herself." The most damning of Max being a dick stories has to go to Molly McIsaac, who tweets, "When my ex brutally assaulted me, Max Landis told our social group that I was a crazy liar. He dismantled my support system, victim blamed me. I know women who he has assaulted. I don't doubt the allegations for a second." She then proceeds to provide chat logs where Max says to her, "You don't attract people who hurt you, you choose them." And when she tells him that she's running away to a safe house because her ex is out on bail and she's afraid for her life, he says, "This is just noise to me. I'm sorry." Yeah. McIsaac also released an email in which It's clear that Max Landis is trying to apologize or something approximating that, and he's trying to excuse away his behavior. It's not good. It's not a good look for him. It's important to note that the vast majority of these alleged incidents occurred in the past 2 years or so. Anna Akana was in Wrestling Isn't Wrestling and interviewed Max in 2016. The apology letter, or let's just put it as it is, excuse letter that McIsaac provided is from October. One of the main pushbacks I've been seeing to these allegations is, yeah, Max Landis used to be an abuser, but he's changed now. Which, first of all, sounds exactly like what an abuse victim would say, but beyond that, Max Landis was roughly 30 years old when these incidences occurred. A lot of these things would be excusable if committed by a 17-year-old or even a 25-year-old or someone Max's age who grew up somewhere more traditional. But Max Landis grew up in Los Angeles. He's had every opportunity. While it's unclear whether or not Max Landis raped anyone, it's pretty clear that he has a history of being emotionally abusive, or at the very least, emotionally volatile. Now, is that a crime? No, of course not. But for me, it's a deal breaker. When people talk about is Max Landis gay, information is intimacy, they tend to focus on the comedic aspects. I.e. this bit.
Do I want to fuck Max Landis?
This bit. Apparently the other teenage boys yell, "Do I want to fuck Max Landis?" across the hall at my brother at school. So that's a thing. And by the way, Nelson, I did get your comment, and yes, Cory in the House is the best anime. It's fine that people focus on the comedic aspects. It's a comedic video, but the thesis of the video is that I have this intimate relationship with a carefully cultivated persona that could shatter at any time by something like, say, sexual assault allegations, which I pointed to in the video. What I'm trying to say is my relationship with Max Landis's persona was shattered because I can no longer see him as a perfect persona, and now he just reminds me of someone else. My junior year of high school, I was in an abusive relationship. He was smart and funny and charismatic, so charismatic that I ignored all the red flags up until and including someone coming up to me and telling me that he was an abusive piece of shit. Yeah. Max Landis has always kind of reminded me of him, but so do a lot of people, constantly. I have intimacy issues. So when the allegations came out, I was like, well, I was right, and this sucks. I'm tempted to be like, I'm not going to tell you to not like Max Landis, this is just me and my opinion, but there's this one person on Twitter whose name I won't mention because that's tacky, but they're constantly tweeting in the Max Landis tag, which I follow because I'm an obsessive. Yeah, at Jaxarola. You thought that I was going to have to do extra research for this? Come on, who do you think I am, a sane person? Well, the majority of Max Landis fans are either like, I'm no longer a fan of this man, goodbye, or I'm withholding judgment until there are more substantial allegations, which is a fine stance to have. I'm not telling you to sidestep due process. I'm just telling you my feelings. There's this one person, and she's tweeting stuff like, if your friend was accused of this, you'd stand by them. Which, first of all, my friend was accused of this. I did stand by him, and then he abused me. So, that worked out well. Second of all, Max Landis isn't your friend. Which brings me to the other thing, people tweeting things like, Max Landis changed my life. Listen, Max Landis is incredibly influential to me, and he kept me company during one of the loneliest periods of my life. But that doesn't mean I know him, or that I know that he's not guilty of the things he's accused of by people who actually know him. We, as Max Landis fans, have a relationship with a curated persona, not a person. Furthermore, when Max Landis fans tweet #WeBelieveInMax, you send a clear message to victims that A, you will probably not believe them if they come forward, and B, that you might even harass them like the way that some Landis fans harassed other women who wronged him. There also seems to be this way too prevalent idea that Max Landis is incapable of levying his fandom as a shield against allegations. Like, did you not see what he did to Lexi Alexander when she blocked him on Twitter? Or his reaction when H. Bomber Guy didn't respond as excitedly as he had hoped when he said that he liked him? I don't understand why people are so confused as to why victims are afraid to come forward in this case. Okay, I'm gonna get overly personal here. It's very scary to come forward with allegations of abuse. Like, my senior year of high school was one of the loneliest periods of my life because when I came forward with allegations against my ex-boyfriend, no one believed me. Like, my friend group cut ties with me. The main reaction I got from people when I told them was, "But you liked him so much." It was incredibly traumatic. Like, I can't trust people anymore. Traumatic. I have recurring nightmares where my mother has invited my abuser to come live with us. Traumatic. And that was just my friend group. Like, that wasn't in a court of law. That wasn't in the court of public opinion. I can only begin to imagine what it must be like for someone accusing Max Landis of assault. The idiots on Twitter insulting you and speculating about you and trying to invalidate your claims. Like, and worst of all, it's really hard to prove emotional abuse. Like, we can kind of sort of prove rape occurred. Like, you can prove that cause you can prove that a sexual encounter occurred, and then you get all this he said, she said stuff surrounding that, but you can mostly prove it. Emotional abuse, I have a hard time proving to myself that I was abused. It's really hard, is what I'm saying. Basically, what I'm saying is I have no clue whether or not Max Landis is guilty of the things he's accused of, or whether or not someone's going to come forward and make public allegations. But what I'm saying is I have an intimate understanding of the crime Max Landis is accused of. And it's really scary, especially because I'm seeing Max Landis fans acting as though emotional abuse isn't real and it isn't bad. Given that I no longer like Max Landis, not necessarily as a person, but at the very least as a persona, it's pretty easy to go, well, I just won't watch his YouTube videos anymore. It gets a little bit more complicated when it comes to his body of work. In light of the Weinstein scandals and subsequent Kevin Spacey scandals, there's been a lot of talk about Death of the Author as it pertains to, let's just say, unsavory characters. What a lot of these discussions seem to leave out is the reason not to platform these people, i.e., because giving these people money and fame and power allows them to take advantage of more people and sends the message that if you commit these behaviors, you can get away with it scot-free. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if we keep watching House of Cards or use Kevin Spacey's performance as Frank Underwood as a symbol of as an example of a great acting performance if every time we mention Kevin Spacey, we mention his actions and he never works in Hollywood again. This is what I like to call the birth of a nation principle. D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation is an important film that everyone has to watch in film school at some point. But its effectiveness as Ku Klux Klan propaganda is hurt by the fact that whenever anyone mentions it, they're like, it's KKK propaganda, and, the KKK sucks. Fun fact. Should you watch Max Landis's work? I don't know, is what I'm saying. I mean, there's an obvious pragmatic answer. Dirk Gently's be-all, end-all is not Max Landis. But it's a difficult question, and one that I don't know how to answer. And I'm pretty sure there isn't a straightforward answer. I just want to say, it's okay to be influenced by work created by shitty people. In fact, it's inevitable. When I was a tween, I was obsessed with Toby Turner. It's not worth it to go through and try to destroy every good thing a toxic person brought you. Instead, what's more important is how you behave with the revelation that they are in fact toxic. I'm not going to take down my Max Landis video. First of all, because I worked really hard on it, and I'm still proud of it, even though there's stuff I said in there that I no longer agree with. Also, to be blunt, the subtext of the video is this. The text of the video is really that I'm worried that Max Landis is secretly a sexual predator. And I can't make the video be is Max Landis a sexual predator? Because that's, really dangerous. Because that's not really, I don't have any proof. That's the whole point, is that there's this stranger who I really like and is really charismatic. And they could easily be a sexual predator, and I have no control over it, and I don't know them intimately enough to know whether or not that's true. The things I said in that video are still relevant. Like how if you're a Max Landis fan, you have an oddly intimate relationship with someone you've never met. And for me at least, a relationship that's just been shattered. Like a soap bubble in sub-zero temperatures. Basically what I'm saying is that, is Max Landis gay? Is me going, that's a nice soap bubble you got there. I really hope that it doesn't get cold. And guess what? It got cold. Yeah, it sucks. So, if you're anything like me, you now have a Max Landis-shaped hole in your life, which you need to fill by watching other creators. So I thought I'd throw together a list of creators who I think cultivate a similar type of intimacy with the audience, and also I just enjoy their content. So, here goes. Dan Harmon is the writer and creator behind Community and Rick and Morty, which I hear you have to have a high IQ to understand, but I find it pretty enjoyable. He has a podcast called Harmontown and another one called Harmon Quest. I haven't listened to Harmon Quest, just Harmontown. Harmontown can be found on, there's clips of it on YouTube and also on a dedicated website. Of the people on this list, he's the closest to Landis in that he does the political commentary stuff and also the screenwriting stuff, and he's, a Hollywood screenwriter. But he's more of a dad than Max Landis is. And I don't mean that in a, oh, daddy kind of a way. That's gross. I mean that he's middle-aged, and curmudgeonly and is very angry about Nazis, and it's great. I have to not listen to too much of his stuff or else I get really worried about Nazis because we have the same anxiety about Nazis, but he's really great and I love him and he's my new best friend, so. Jill Bearup. Jill Bearup is the cool older nerd friend I never had. She does reviews and explanations for various like fandom things and sort of nerdy media stuff, but she also does like really great reviews of self-help books. Ugh. She also does really great reviews of self-help books. I honestly just find her a comfort to listen to. Matthias is like primarily a drawing advice channel, but I find that his advice could be applied to other forms of art. He has a bunch of like very motivating videos, and also his video How to Draw Perfect Hands it's a masterwork. It's just one of the most humorous videos I've seen in a long time, and also it actually helped me to draw hands. So Jenny Nicholson. Jenny Nicholson is a spectacular storyteller. Like, I think of anyone on this list, she's the only one who can hold a candle to Max Landis' storytelling abilities. That said, she is actually a friend of Max Landis's, or maybe was a friend of Max Landis's. I don't really know. She hasn't said anything about the current allegations, so I'm just going to give her the benefit of the doubt, because I think that we really shouldn't blame those who associate with abusers, but that's a whole other thing for another time. But yeah, her channel is great. She did a recent video about like a My Little Pony, like what she would do if she was in charge of rebooting the franchise, and it was captivating despite the fact that I have seen one episode of My Little Pony. I'm not like a fan of it, but she's a great storyteller. I recommend that, and also What If Peter Wasn't Spider-Man, which I think I recommended in my first recommendation roundup or my second one. She's hilarious. Just go watch her channel. Patrick H. Willems. Patrick H. Willems is my favorite comics/movie nerd on YouTube. He does like video essays. He has a bunch of really great ones about action scenes. And he also has this whole thing where it's him sitting across the table from his parents explaining franchises. He sold me on Fast and the Furious, which I thought was a stupid franchise until he explained it. And it's a great video. I recommend that one. He also does a bunch of really great videos, which is like this franchise as helmed by this auteur. So, for example, he has X-Men as directed by Wes Anderson, and he also has like Batman as directed by Tommy Wiseau, and he's hilarious. I love him. Chris Fleming. Chris Fleming is the guy behind the series Gale. I'm not sure how popular it is, because like it's one of those things where I hadn't seen it in its entirety, but I had definitely seen the Company is Coming clip, which is possibly the peak of Gale. He has a very absurdist sense of humor, does a lot of like stream of consciousness stand-up comedy. From his, I would recommend Am I a Man and Gigi the Christmas Snake. So they're slow so you don't wake. It's great. I love it so much. Brian David Gilbert makes like short humor videos that are very absurdist, usually musical. I love all of them. I'd recommend This Video Got Me a Job, This One's for the Swedes, and Rejected Old Bay Jingle. And also, this 15-second long clip is my plan for the comments on this video.
Don't read the comments 2018.
Don't read them.
Don't read the comments 2018.
Don't read those things.
Don't read the comments 2018.
It's bad for your mental health.
Don't read the comments 2018.
But you keep doing it anyway, you dumb idiot.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. I've just finished editing it, so I wanted to put together a little conclusion part where I add a few things, I guess. This video was really hard for me to make, but I felt like I needed to say my piece, as it were. And I also want to say that was my piece. I just said it, and I don't want to argue about it. I don't want to discuss different speculations as to what's actually happening, or like the past few days, I keep falling down this hole of reading different people's speculations, and it's not fun. I don't like it. I don't want to keep doing it. I am taking a social media hiatus for a week. I can't trust myself on Twitter right now. But I really wanted to make something about these feelings because it's really weird. Like, I kind of feel like I'm going through a breakup over a guy I've never met. And like, it's sad. I keep thinking of like all the weird fun times we had, in the sense of like all these times he made me laugh and he made me really happy. And like, I can't watch those videos the same way anymore. And that's really sad. But yeah, I don't have a strong note to conclude this video on because I don't know Max Landis. All I know is I'm not a fan of his anymore.